Hi, it's Bigsy back, part 3. I'm dealing with the insanity. So, some of the experiences in your inner workings on your mind, you say, well, that's my imagination. Well, what if I said that imagination doesn't exist? That in itself is imaginary. Then you'd be like, oh shit, what does that mean? Then your whole world starts falling apart. It's because there's someone saying, well, this is real and this isn't real. But then you experience things. You say, well, actually, no, I actually experienced it, so I should know what it's like. It's a bit like if I gave you a nice dinner, you enjoyed it, and I told you it was disgusting. You'd be quizzing why I think it's disgusting. You thought it was great, but you'd be falling into these camps of thinking either it's good, it's bad, it's this, it's that. What you do in that kind of reality is you learn from them experiences. You basically break things down, and then you add them back together again. I guess it's some sort of fundamental of mathematics to break it down into component parts and then reintroduce themselves back together again to formulate an answer of the reality, basically square to the dimension and stuff like that. But let's not get too crazy on that. You can pull in anyway. I was mentioning about when your DNA is activated because I'm chopping a bit between different areas I'd like to talk about. Possibly because it's more my identity, as I mentioned, I'm multi-dimensional, that is active at this moment in time. So, for me, with my DNA, it resonates at certain frequencies. As you know, or believe, or you might not, whether your physical body was made by, or a certain amount of ET went into it, or whether your ethereal body or your your higher self is pure, so it doesn't really have any type of, it doesn't belong to a particular form. Your soul matrix does. That's like the outer shell to that, and that's based on experiences and all sorts of things. It's a bit like what you think about chakras, and they all have functions within that. My lifetimes are added to myself and what I've existed as. Looking at the different resonance frequencies, I will relate to certain beings, and then beings will relate to other beings. So it's kind of a network. I mean, for me, I started to have, I mentioned before in a video that I took some Orma supplement. I was doing some spiritual work anyway, and I had quite a strong spiritual activation. The being, there was a reptilian behind me and something in front of me, and I was kind of sandwiched between the two. The reason I was sandwiched is because one's the frontal lobe and one would be the reptilian brain. And how these different beings are sort of integrated together. But this is just two ET type activations within myself, and then the further back the bloodlines would be that there's other reptilians involved with each other. So and now these activations, these frequencies are out there in my sort of alpha wave and different states. They're sort of flowing and interconnecting with this universe. It's how we relate to our reality and how the reality relates to us. So, I've got different reptilian identities that are making themselves known in different ways. There's a lot. There's yesterday I saw something just before I go into some dream state, vivid. I haven't thought about it. This thought, there was a type of brown skin reptilian. I recently seen one was quite grey, and it actually was wearing like a bob. So it had its hair in some type of bob that was quite interesting, but it was more greyer skinned. To be honest, it looked more like one of the gods, the Egyptian gods, like a crocodile, an alligator, had a more extended face. The first thing with these type of realities is not to be afraid, because if you kind of close down from it, then you're shutting down developing the experience. I might have mentioned before, I had sort of quite a strong sort of childhood experiences whereby something would visit me every night, dimensional being or something. I didn't know if it was Jinn, I don't know if it was ET, but it would cause these nightmares and be in there and doing stuff, and I could sense it, and I was very afraid. But I think it was setting me up for where I'm going now. So I don't know if it's done me a favour, introducing some level of conflict, because now I'm probably immune. If I saw an ET, I wouldn't be screaming and running for the hills. I'd actually want to engage with it and figure out what it is. I'd probably ask it to stay back though, until I've ascertained if it's safe to do so. to have a one-to-one engagement with something I haven't seen before. There's always going to be a level of dominance between certain reptilian races as well. But yeah, that's something else. But you start to in tune with their type of life force, and it goes off into the more esoteric areas, ethereal, metaphysical dimensions of your reality, the quantum soul, and so on. So you look at different aspects of that. So from that experience, I have a lot more reptilian. There is a certain amount of reptilian in me anyway. You might notice my eyes are a bit different than other people's. They are a slightly different shape as well. I am a Caucasian. I did have someone quiz me and say, "Are you Japan? Have you got slight Japanese in there?" No, I just got different eyes to him. But he's a bit narrow-minded. I wouldn't get into a discussion about that. But recently there's been greys engagement as well, larger greys. I've been sensing that something's tall entering the room. You kind of can sense the it's a chromospheric illumination. Basically, the light in itself is bent or altered slightly by that shape. So the other sort of the magnetic fields are influencing the air particles, and you kind of get this idea. You can see if you stare at the air itself. I mean, you might see nothing, but I sometimes you see these like little particles moving around. When these things enter into that, they create this distortion effect. So you know that something's there, something doesn't. It's like I'm sure that someone looked at something, that sort of thing. But anyway, these beings. Well, I'm 6 foot, and they're above that, so they're between 6 and 7 foot. I have to duck down, come into my flat. They are in an energetic form, so it could be a telepathic type thing. There is certain engagements with them it's quite interesting. Yesterday, I think the theory of the reaction is probably a certain law as well. If they interfere with it, then they can be sort of punished for it. And also, what would happen to our reality if suddenly we realised everything we taught didn't fit into this new reality, this new box. But yeah, there's certain things they're doing to physical engagement. I did yesterday. I was asking them to come nearer and so on. And you close your eyes, and suddenly you can see the light of the eye, because in front of you there's light of the front room. You can see it in your eye, and then you see a start shadow. So something's come closer, engaged. It's very strange shut, or it could be a third eye. It could be the third eye active, and you're suddenly picking up their shadowy form. Touch my body in certain physical ways. They were doing some sort of medical examination of me. I think they've done some healing and some other things I've asked them to do on me. It's kind of like what you agreed they can do. So I don't mind them studying my body. They can't harm me. There's some things they wouldn't let me do. Like I was laid in a bed and I could feel something. It almost felt like a spider crawling up your leg, like in a groin. So I thought no. So I put my hand on no, because I see what they were doing. It felt more physical. So I didn't want them to sort of probe him, with his organs. My private parts. There's none of their business. They was able to put their physical hand inside my body because they were in an energetic form, which was a bit weird. I had some strange stuff happening. It felt like I was getting a mild stomach cramp, but it wasn't. It was I had the diaphragm and it got pushed up. So there was doing some healing. It's almost like massage to my organs. It was a very unusual experience, but it was like it was forced right in and up. I don't usually have that. I mean, you do have a sensation when you rest your body, your organs, your muscles, and it feels different, but not like that. I also noticed that my t-shirt was quite tight against my skin as well. It felt like support time. So that sort of covers that. I mean, if you'd explain that to anybody else who hasn't had that experience, that probably sounds absolutely crazy. Some people think, oh yeah, I'd love to have that. I'd love to, love to experience these things. Other people would just close down. That's fine. Like I mentioned about the boxes of reality and the cubism, is that you kind of engage with people that have that same level of knowledge. There's no real point of trying to explain to people that we're multi-dimensional if they believe this is the only reality and it's all centrally based on their brain and their soul you can turn yourself into a two-dimensional being if you want, or just stick with the three-dimensionals. I don't really care, because my life and existence is about progress. You do need to manage these things carefully, though, because basically it's a bit like any social setting. If I start going on about a particular subject like politics or so on, it alienate people, and you only attract politicians. So it's understanding your setting and applying your level of knowledge. You don't have to put it all on one go. And also opinions, and listen to other people's opinions, because all their experiences are individual. So I'm not going to sort of get into any argument. Someone says this, someone says that. You shouldn't overlook the external sources, though. ET engagement solving all your problems. It's more the internal, which is increasing your being, so that you can deal with them. It could be that they're stuck within a different energy matrix framework. They can never enter this reality other than through your dreams or through these type of interactions. So people may have actually not had anything physical other than more of an energetic type things happen to their body. They may have never left their bed. They might have had something happen. I'm on that opinion. I believe that people are abducted and removed. I just think that people can't tell the difference between the two if they've been taken at a more spiritual level when something's happened to them, or if it's just purely been physical. It just doesn't work within that framework. I know this is a big sign out. Bye.